That brings us to more prospect talk here on the show. It's time for Prospecting with the Welsh. That's right. The Welsh are going to take a look at some prospects, and we are going to start again with Spencer Jones this week. 4 for 5, 2 homers on Sunday. He's been on a tear. He's got 10 homers in 13 games since the start of July. He got the bump up to AAA. He was crushing AA. Everything has gone really well for Spencer Jones. And to me, he is probably the untouchable piece. If the Yankees are going to move Lombard, good. That'll bring back something for you. Good, do it. Schlittler, I don't know, man. I think he's a really good young pitcher. I don't know if I'm ready after what I saw to move on from him. So the Yankees are in a tough spot because they have some of these guys who are getting closer. Spencer Jones being one of them. Schlittler's already made his appearance, but Spencer Jones can't be stopped right now. So what's changed here, Welsh? Because in the profile, it was always the strikeout totals that were a problem. He's a bigger guy with a bigger strike zone. Sometimes that takes a little longer for guys to mature and start to learn about themselves. But you can't deny, no matter what's happening in the past, that right now in the present, Spencer Jones is crushing baseballs.
Yeah, and this is going to be my one, like, none of you get him, I get him, because this is one of those guys that has had so many warts on it that people have written off. No top 100 prospect. I've held tight. I moved him down a little bit, but I have held tight. I have long been the Spencer Jones guy. And so this is my little moment. But the problem absolutely is that in all of the positives, there are some big negatives. And the two biggest negatives are his swing and miss, / chase rate. That equates to strikeouts. And that's going to be the thing that's always going to hold him back. It's like near the tippy top of chase. What we're seeing, though, is he's filling out and fixing that hole that was in the swing when you were chasing through. And he made a change earlier this year with the torpedo bat, and we didn't really see any big results, but I've always been a defender. And I think I did this last week. We were talking about it. Like, my big defense of Spencer Jones was anyone that's like, well, he's a little old for the level. It's like, well, dude's been a full-time hitter for like 3 years. That's it. He was a pitcher at Vanderbilt, but now he's completely locked in. The 6'7", 240, as some people in the chat were freaking out. That's always been the thing. This is a tools. This is a what this player can provide. So what he did, to come back and just give the final answer, you're like, what has changed? Well, I think it's finding his comfortability, because he did off-season work where they were biomechanical, like looking at his swing and where he hits the ball. And that is why they brought in the torpedo bat. Like, where you make your level of contact, the torpedo bat is going to optimize. He hadn't found that, and he clearly finally has. He just had a June where he hit .319 with 9 homers and 4 stolen bases. In July, how about .455 with 8 homers, 5 stolen bases, and probably the most positive, an under 30% K percentage this month. He has done so well that he has his averages can be seen on screen. Over 300 right now. He's a 6'7", almost 250-pound outfielder that has almost 20 stolen bases. If he plays a little bit longer, he's going to have a 30-20 season in the minors. He's an immense talent. Maybe this run and maybe the fixes have made the Yankees change their mind and make him untouchable. A lot have kind of felt this could be the guy that gets moved, and this is the reason they could get one of those big players, which I would love. But from a fantasy perspective, I love Spencer Jones, and this trade could put him in the majors if he is traded. Let's say he's traded to a team, maybe even the Diamondbacks, that I think we need to pay attention to Spencer Jones. If he doesn't get traded and there's a big injury in some capacity in the outfield, I think he's going to get a look. I think he'd get a look at the end of the season, or if he's traded, kind of like what we've talked about with Owen Casey, we might see him. But Spencer Jones has made a huge, huge change. He looks like he's completely tapping into all that potential. And it feels good for me to have a little bit of a moment before he starts striking out 40% of the time in the majors, which he will.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I agree. He will probably too. But look, if he hits some home runs too, then, people will rejoice. CJ Kayfus, we continue to wait for him. And look, with good reason. Unfortunately, the Guardians, just refused to go ahead and make this move yet. He's hitting .292 at AAA with a .377 OBP, a .558 slugging, a .934 OPS. He has 13 homers and 42 RBI in just 61 games. So what's the holdup here? Are we going to see CJ sooner than later in Cleveland?
Yeah, so actually I have like another little piece to add to this of why we put him back on here. Because like the stats in general, like CJ Kayfus has just been a dude all season, whether it was 2 months ago, a month ago, like we've kind of continuously been talking about like, hey, you need to pay attention to him. Unfortunately, this team didn't bring him up, but also maybe fortunately, this team is kind of stinking right now. So how much longer is Carlos Santana for this team? if they're talking about trading pieces like Emmanuel Clase, and Stephen Kwan was number 2 in that article by Passan about the most likely players to get traded. If they do that, how much longer is a guy like Carlos Santana there? But if they trade Kwan or Santana, here's the positive. Kayfus has played both in the outfield a decent amount and at first base. And the other likely player, this is the big piece of why I put him on here, Chase DeLauder is just a lost cause at this point. He is back at a hand specialist, getting checked out after re-aggravating that thing. He's not coming up. It's just not going to happen anytime soon. So that just leaves CJ Kayfus as the clear player to come up, who can play left, who can play right. He can play first base, strong left-handed bat, hitting over 300, 400 OBP, classic, by the way, Guardians player. You know, the strikeouts aren't as big of an issue. He's walked a bunch. The bat's ready. He got it to the futures game. And I think whether it is, if Quan is traded, it's Kayfus time. If Santana, if we get to August, I think he's gone and they bring up CJ Kayfus to get him some runs. So I think he's coming up in the very near future. And this is why we want to start looking to stash CJ Kayfus.
Yeah, sad for DeLauder, man. It looked like things were really going his direction. But again, the injuries just keep on coming. Now, a guy that started off pretty rough this year, but things have gotten back on track. A Mets prospect, Brandon Sproat, who's rumored in a lot of potential deals too. McLean, we talked about recently. We know Jonah Tong has had a great season in Double-A. He looks, to me, that's the guy. Of all the Mets pitchers, he's the one that jumps off the page the most to me. But Sproat, 9 strikeouts, 1 run, 0 earned over 5 innings on Saturday this weekend. So that certainly did a lot for his value, I would think, not only in the Mets organization, but possibly his trade value as well if the Mets make a move. So if Sproat does get moved, do we see him potentially this season, or is this more of a dynasty look ahead? Is Sproat starting to get back on track after a rough opening to the season?
I think it plays both ways. I think, this team has had just a lot of like wish-wash with some of their starting pitcher production as of recent. If they don't make any big move, I think they could potentially look to a guy like Brandon Sproat. And as you mentioned, I think he's probably at the top of the trade market. If they were to go make a splash and surprise us, I'm not sure Sprout goes for like a Mitch Keller or anything like that. But, I do think that in some capacity, like what we've talked about with Owen Casey or CJ Kayfus, like Sprout's one of those guys that's going to get some run this year. And his recent output has just looked so much better on the strikeout front. ERA still looks a little bit inflated, but it just doesn't tell the full story of where he's been so far this season. So I'm relatively encouraged, even though like I think he's not on a lot of radars with, just higher inflated ERAs of 4.5. But I think we're going to see Sprout, no Tong, no McLean. They are not getting traded, but this has a 2-path for me. So that's why Sprout made this list. A really good start in his last outing. Good fastball, just needed consistency. So be on the lookout, whether it's with the Mets or another team. I think we're going to see some production out of him. He's not Bubba Chandler. He's not Andrew Painter. And to be frank, he might not even be the next tier, but he's probably right at the top of that other tier. So I would be comfortable putting him in spot start situations. Take a look. If you're looking for some innings, you're looking for someone that has a hot run right now, Sprout might be the guy.
And that's prospecting with the Welsh for this week. Head over to FantasyPros.com for more prospect talk. And, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also just did our recent MLB draft special. So if you're into Dynasty Baseball, that's the place to be. Go check that out. It's living on our YouTube channel. Subscribe today to Fantasy Pros MLB.